On May 25, 1961, John F. Kennedy told a joint session of Congress that the United States would land a man on the moon and bring him home safely before the decade was out. At that point, the entire American record of human spaceflight was one suborbital hop, about 15 minutes start to finish. The gap between what he promised and what anyone could actually do was enormous. 8 years later, they closed it, and the deadline forced a peculiar kind of planning. Not guessing where rocketry was heading, but working out what had to be true just before a landing, and just before that. Seen that way, it looks a lot like backcasting. That's backcasting. Forecasting asks where today's trends will carry you. Backcasting flips it. You fix a point in the future you've decided on, and then step backwards, asking at each stage what had to be true just before it. It's the difference between predicting the weather and planning a journey. Last episode, we mapped 4 futures that might happen to you. The coffee square, climate against adaptation. Scenario planning explores the external conditions you may have to face. Backcasting is the other half. It organizes purposeful action toward a position you actually want inside those conditions. The problem it solves isn't what's coming. It's how you'd ever get there. Back in the very first module, we drew the cone of plausibility, the whole spread of futures that could believably happen. Scenario planning scatters points across that spread. Backcasting does something bolder. It picks one point, the preferable one, and draws a hard line from it straight back to where you're standing. The method is 3 moves. Define the destination so precisely you could stand in it. Walk backwards from it in real steps, and find the one step you'd have to take first, this week. Let's do all 3 and then run it on something you drank this morning. Here's the rule that makes or breaks a backcast. You cannot walk backwards from a blur. Be successful is a blur. Get healthy is a blur. You can't reverse engineer a fog. The destination has to have a date on it and enough detail that you could describe a normal Tuesday inside it. NASA's destination wasn't advanced space capability. It was a man on the moon returned alive by December 31st, 1969. Specific enough to test every decision against. When your endpoint is that concrete, every step backwards from it has something solid to attach to. Vague goals produce vague plans. Sharp goals produce a map. Now you stand at the destination and look back. Not forward from today, backward from the goal. What had to happen the year before you arrived, and the year before that? You keep stepping back, each milestone resting on the one behind it, until the chain reaches next week. NASA worked back from 69. To land in 69, Rendezvous had to be solved by 66. To solve Rendezvous, you needed 2-man flights first, and so on, back to a budget line. And walking backwards surfaces something forward planning hides, the critical path. Some steps have to come before others, and some have long lead times you can't shortcut. You can't hire a team before the revenue exists to pay them. You can't test a lunar module before you've built one. The backward walk tells you not just what to do, but the order the world will actually allow. Backcasting names the conditions that must exist. Ordinary project planning then turns them into owners, resources, and dates. Let's run it on coffee. Remember the Great Migration from last episode? The world where the climate hits hard, but the industry adapts, and your cup survives by moving to new ground. That's a destination. Put it in 2040, Arabica still on shelves. But a destination worth reaching means more than a full shelf. Smallholders still making a living. Adaptation that didn't clear intact highland forest to get there. A cup ordinary people can still afford. Grown at higher altitudes and across more of East Africa, with disease-resistant hybrids doing real work. Now walk it back. To have resistant hybrids at scale by 2040, They have to be planted years earlier because a coffee tree takes 3 to 4 years to mature and yield. So the trees go in the ground around 2034. To plant the right trees in 2034, the breeding programs have to be delivering proven varieties by the early 2030s. To have those programs running, the funding and the land decisions happen now. The distant goal has a near-term first move hiding inside it. This isn't only a thought experiment. In 2008, a Danish company called Dong Energy made 85% of its heat and power from fossil fuels, mostly coal. Management fixed a destination. Flip that ratio to 85% renewable by 2040. Read as a backcast, the target implied offshore wind had to get cheap fast, and cheap meant scale quickly. In 2009, they placed a single order for around 500 wind turbines, one of the largest orders the young industry had seen. They renamed the company Ørsted, sold off the oil and gas, and hit the 85% target in 2019, 21 years ahead of schedule. The distant goal didn't get reached by drifting toward it. It got reached because the deadline forced the backward math, and the backward math forced a first move that looked insane at the time. Notice the shape it shares with the coffee trees and the moon. The thing you must start now is dictated by the longest lead time in the chain. Trees take 4 years. Turbine supply chains take a decade. Rendezvous had to be solved 3 years before the landing. Backcasting's real gift is finding that longest lead, the move whose clock is already running. So here's what backcasting actually does for you. A goal 10 or 20 years out is paralyzing. It's too big and too far to act on, so most people don't. Backcasting cuts it into a chain of near-term doable steps and then hands you the one that can't wait. The paralysis breaks because you're no longer staring at 2040. You're doing the 2034 thing this year because the tree needs the time. And it changes what you monitor. Once you've backcast a path, the milestones become signposts and decision points. The line isn't a railway track. At each one, you check whether the assumptions still hold and redraw the route if they don't. For coffee, the one to watch is whether resistant varieties are actually going into the ground at scale this decade. Because if the 2034 planting slips, the 2040 cup slips with it. Late trees can't be hurried. One honest caution: backcasting assumes the destination is worth committing to and that the road stays roughly open. Pick the wrong destination and you'll reverse engineer your way efficiently to the wrong place. So the tool pairs with the last one. Use scenario planning to make sure your chosen future is robust across more than one world. Then backcast the path to it. Choose well, then walk it back. Forecasting tells you where you're drifting. Backcasting tells you where to row. The moon promise worked because a hard deadline forced the backward arithmetic. And the arithmetic turned an impossible-sounding goal into a sequence of things engineers could actually build in order starting Monday. So here's the one to drop in the comments. Pick one future you want badly enough to reverse engineer, a real one with a date on it. Not someday, a year. Put it below as 2 lines. First, by 2031, I will have one. Then the line that makes it a backcast, not a wish. For that to be true, by the end of this year, Dabadadawan has to already exist. Name the destination and its first domino. That's the whole method in one breath. The backward walk gets a lot easier once the endpoint stops being a blur. You can't control everything between here and there. You can pick the destination and you can start the step whose clock is already ticking. Next time, the tool that stress tests all of this. What happens when a wild card, a frost, a crash, a ship wedged sideways in a canal blows a hole in your careful backward plan? Because the plans that survive aren't the ones that assume the road stays open.